Hi, my name is Mette, and I'm the founder of Disabled Students UK. DSUK works to improve accessibility in higher education, and this video is part of the Access Insights series, allowing stakeholders to tap into the insights of disabled students. Today, I'll be speaking about the why and how of working with disabled students. But first, let me do a quick sensory description. I'm a white person in my late 20s with an accent that's a mix of Swedish, American, and English. Now let's get started. Through working with higher education institutions, it's become clear to me that as an institution, you need three tools in order to be able to take responsibility for the experiences of a marginalized group, such as disabled students. Firstly, you need insight into the experiences of that group. Secondly, you need some kind of measuring stick that you can compare these experiences against, such as the law, a piece of guidance, or a number of goals that you've set as an institution. And thirdly, you need structures of accountability so that you're able to course correct when the experiences of that marginalized group do not meet your standards. In the next few videos, we will be honing in on the first of these tools. Why is it so important to invest in understanding the disabled student experience, and how can you go about it? Let's start with why. The legal duty to disabled students is to make their access as similar as is reasonably possible to that of a non-disabled student. The interesting thing, though, is that whether this is achieved is rarely measured. Office for Students measures outputs, not experiences. The National Student Survey will tell you that disabled students are less happy with how their courses run, but not in what way. Very rarely do you see accessibility questions being asked to students like, had your support been implemented by 2 weeks into term? Or do you know who to turn to if you have an accessibility issue? As disabled students, we know that these are the kinds of questions we need to ask in order to measure whether disabled students have the same access to education in practice. When we work with universities, we find an enormous insight gap when it comes to the experiences of disabled students. Staff members sometimes think that they will automatically find out if something isn't accessible, but unfortunately that's unlikely. When disabled students are not provided with sufficient support, it means that they have to put much more time and effort into their education than the average student. This means that they're less likely to be able to dedicate time to making complaints or advocating for themselves. Of course, this ends up creating a vicious cycle. What you don't understand, you can't fix. And when staff members don't understand disabled students' experience, they're unable to put the correct structures in place to create accessibility. The lack of accessibility in turn keeps disabled students from sharing their insight, which of course keeps staff members from understanding disabled students' experiences. And on the cycle goes. To break this cycle, universities need to actively consult with disabled students in order to understand their experiences. In our latest survey of over 300 disabled students, we found that the second most common thing they wanted universities to learn to become more accessible going forward was to consult with disabled students. Of the students who filled in our survey, those who were proactively consulted about accessibility were 3 times more likely to have the support that they needed, and more than 3 times less likely to consider leaving the university. Now, we will go into more depth on how to work with disabled students in the next few videos, but I wanted to make a general point about what approach to take. One thing that I've learned in my years of organizing disabled students is the power of prefigurative politics. Prefigurativism is defined as the practice of making the work for change itself embody, represent, or mimic the world that we want to see. Let me give you an example. Say that you're a group trying to create a more egalitarian society. It is prefigurative to implement egalitarian structures within that group. Prefigurativism then is a kind of change from the inside out. For us as marginalized students within DSUK, one way that we practice prefigurativism is to design our work around the idea that we have something worth saying, that we have valuable insight. This may not sound like much, but it can be a very difficult thing to do when you've been told otherwise your whole life. There's a reason why the disability movement's slogan is "Nothing about us without us." Historically, an influential narrative has been that disabled people are ignorant or incompetent. Our own voices have been devalued, while non-disabled people have presumed to know what we need and spoken over us. In the autistic community, for instance, there's a popular poem called "You Get Proud by Practicing." Within DSUK, we practice believing in our own competence. This can look like using our expertise in areas where we have them, such as consulting or report writing. It can look like turning down opportunities where we know we would be tokenized rather than heard. It can look like charging for our work. It's been clear through my work with DSUK that prefigurative politics works. Many are shocked when they realize that we are responsible for the reports that we've written, when they see the quality of our work. The expertise that we provide is essential for changing university structures, of course, but the realization that disabled students have expertise seems equally as vital for countering misconceptions and changing minds. Just as we as an organization practice prefigurative politics in our work for increased accessibility, so can universities. There's a huge opportunity for culture change simply by acting as if marginalized people have expertise, platforming them and then acting on their insight. In our next video, I will go over key things to keep in mind as you try to gather the insight of disabled students. If your university is already an Access Insights member, you will receive this video in our next monthly brief. If your university is not yet an Access Insights member, let me tell you a little bit about the Access Insights project. So Access Insights is a tool aimed at connecting institutions with the insight of disabled students. The project will evaluate the experiences of disabled students at each UK university through a student survey. All universities, whether they're members or not, will be able to see summary statistics of the results and compare institutional profiles via our website. Universities that become members of the project will then get a tailored report with an in-depth analysis of their strengths and weaknesses and a list of steps that they can take to improve the disabled student experience. We will also complement the quantitative data with a monthly insight brief, including videos like this one, detailing disabled students' experiences and how the universities can improve. We want to make sure that staff members get to hear the human story as well as statistics. We will also assist member universities in the implementation of what they've learned by offering 6 hours of consulting, tailored to their improvement goals, as well as a discount on our training and workshops. By providing access to disabled students' insight, membership will enable universities to better understand good practice and thus be able to improve accessibility in a more proactive and cost-effective way. If you want to learn more, do get in touch at accessinsights@disabledstudents.co.uk.